Hey now, guys. What is happening? Back again with Volume 20, the final gauntlet of Mighty Thor, the Mighty Thor complete. Like I said, we have this new logo here. This is actually the last we'll see of this logo, which is indicative of Eric Masterson being the Mighty Thor since the Black Galaxy. Excuse me. Okay. So, yeah. And in this issue, we see the end of that. I don't know why there's why is there a, it's my phone. I don't like that. A little gleam there. Anyway, so, yeah, this is the end, guys. This is the end of Eric Masterson being Thor. They finally find the real Thor, who takes over. And of course, Kevin, God, I keep saying Kevin. Kevin's the fucking son, that annoying little brat son. Eric Masterson ends his run as Thor and becomes Thunderstrike. And he appears as Thunderstrike in the 4-issue Thor Core limited series. And also the end of Tom DeFalco and Ron Frentz's run. They started in 1987 with the Volume 16 War of the Pantheons. That was Thor 383, and it ends with 459 of Thor. So 6 years, 383 to 459 was the Friends DeFalco run, or DeFalco Friends. And then we get Ron Mars taking over. Ron Mars, and for the first 3 issues from 460 to 462, Jim Starlin co-wrote along with Ron Mars. And then I think we have who we have? Oh yeah, Bruce Zick doing the pencils, which I did not like his artwork at all. Hated it. Patrick Olive also got credit. He did the Thor Core with Tom DeFalco. Tom DeFalco also wrote the 4-issue Thor Core miniseries. And also Pat Olive did the Tales of Asgard stuff. Oh yeah, no more Tales of Asgard. I don't know, kind of mixed about it. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed the Tales of Asgard stories. But sometimes you'd read the A story and you'd be like, cool, that's awesome. And then you'd read the Tales of Asgard, which is a B story, and you're like, this kind of throws me off. But the ones in the Tales of Asgard, are more like secondary stories that have to do with the first story. So if the first story deals with Thor and Eric Masterson and all those people, they may touch on, let's say, Amora the Enchantress, or Sif, or Carnilla, Boulder, whatever, from the A story, and then in the B story, carry on into a 5-page filler that had to do with the first story. So something like that. But then again, why do they need a B story? Why do they need a Tales of Asgard? Why not just make it one huge story for 22, 3, 4 pages, I don't know, whatever. They didn't need to call it Tales of Asgard, I guess is what I'm saying. Whereas like in the 60s, Tales of Asgard could have been, or it was, about young Thor, for example, versus in the A story, adult Thor, something like that. Anyway, I'm just bitching, but yeah, so the final gauntlet, guys, this covers 451 to 467 of Thor and the 4-issue limited series Thor Core. I'm gonna put that right down here. So I had a hard time figuring out, in the end I decided to make it 451 to 457 as a 7-part storyline, but then I thought maybe it was 451 to 451 to 455, a 5-issue storyline, because 456 goes into Doctor Strange and Blood Axe, and I wasn't sure if that really connected, but I think it did, because in the end it is the search for Thor, which ends in 457, and then I thought maybe 458 and 9 belong in that storyline too, but it did feel like a separate storyline, where now Thor's returned, Eric is kind of sort of given up being Thor. He hasn't become Thunderstrike yet, but he's still hanging around Asgard, But then I felt it was different, because in 458, Thor and Eric fight, because, and there's a little soap opera, daytime soap opera action going where Amora, the enchantress, is upset that everyone's in love except her because Heimdall has spurned her. Now that Odin is back, for those of you who don't know, Odin has come back. He's now ruling Asgard, and Heimdall is now back guarding the Rainbow Bridge. No longer do they call it Bifrost, by the way. I guess they thought, what a stupid name for a rainbow bridge, Bifrost. So they got rid of it. Now they just call it the Rainbow Bridge. And the Warriors 3 are back to being Warriors 3, fighting and fucking and all that stuff, bragging and eating and, So this storyline in particular, everyone's looking for Thor, and it culminates into a battle against Loki, who apparently did die in 432 of Thor, but during the Thor War, if you guys may have read it, I did the last volume, and I mentioned it, Thor was plucked by Zarko the Tomorrow Man from a past before he died by Thor's hands. And apparently Eric, in his big mouth, told Loki that he was going to die. So when Loki and Zarko got lost in the time cube, again, you guys got to read it. I mean, I can tell you about it, but you guys got to read it too, just to understand what I'm saying. Anyway, they spilled out of the time cube while it was going back in time. This is during the Thor War, so between 438 to 441. This is specifically 441. And they spilled out of the time cube and got displaced. So apparently Loki managed to, now that he knew that he was going to die, went back to the time where Thor killed him, spirited his body away. Loki spirited his body away before he died and went into Odin. So while Odin was in his Odin sleep. So now Loki, all this time, was controlling Odin, and he forced Heimdall to banish Thor inside of Eric, much like how Odin had originally banished Thor into Dom Blake, and of course Dom Blake into Thor. So it was a pretty tricky, interesting, smart way to mirror what had happened with what Odin did with Dom Blake and all that stuff and Thor, and now doing it to Eric too. So all this time they've been looking for Thor, and he's always been inside of Eric, which explains why Eric and Sif were flirting a little bit, because some part of Thor was pushing them together. Also, Eric's bravery, and you wonder, how can a simple architect, a human architect, handle all this, being suddenly a warrior and a thunder god and have all these powers and be so inept at the same time? Turns out Thor was guiding him, let's just say. He wasn't... It's a little bit vague and nebulous in that if Thor was inside of Eric and he knew what was going on, why didn't... Some things just don't make sense. Like, I still have questions about certain things. Like, shouldn't Eric have known in some way that Thor was inside of him, or couldn't Thor let Eric know, hey, I'm inside of you? I don't know. But yeah, that's DeFalco and Friends' way of saying, yeah, well, it's a comic book. Don't worry about it. It's a comic book that acts like a soap opera that acts like a comic book, whatever. But I liked it. This cover, by the way, is from 458. This is from 457 when Thor comes back. And this is when they fight, Eric and Thor. And I mentioned earlier, Amora the Enchantress, not happy that everybody else but her is happy. So she takes Eric's jacket, pretends she's Sif, and then she manages to get Eric. She kisses Eric, and so now he's under her thrall, and he goes and attacks Thor, and they fight, and Sif gets injured, so then Thor's like, you motherfucker! So there's just a knockdown, drag-out fight, and that goes from 458 to 459, and then 459, he becomes Thunderstrike. So he has the mace, which is called Thunderstrike, and Odin gifted it to Eric to give fuck. Thor gifted it to Thor to give to Eric. And then Eric was like, no. At first he's like, fuck, who am I? I'm a thunder god still. No, I'm supposed to get my life back in order. But I guess he loves it because he's still Thunderstrike. Right? Or I don't know if he's still Thunder. I read somewhere that Kevin, his son, is now Thunderstrike. I don't know. You guys may want to tell me in the comments. I don't read modern comics, so I don't even know who the fuck is. I saw that there was a chick who was Thor, so I don't know. I think it was Jane, right? Jane Foster. Okay, and then moving right along from that first storyline. So I would say 451 to 459 is one half of that story. And then 460 all the way to 467 and Thor Core 1 through 4. So Thor is 460. Thor's on this weird head trip. He feels that he's been used and abused by Odin. And so he just is like, I can't cope anymore. I don't know who I am. He's going through an identity crisis. So Odin says, okay, I'm not going to banish you from Asgard, but I want you to get on this boat, the Starjammer, this Viking ship that travels through space. Odin says, I want you to go travel the stars, come back when you're ready, find out who you are. And then apparently Thor gets infected by not infected, it's not a sickness or a virus, but it's a madness, the warrior's madness, which he had suffered from before, way back when. And apparently it's so severe that if Odin finds out that you have the warrior's madness, you'll be banned from Asgard for eternity. So Sif is like, oh my god, he's got the warrior's madness. I don't want anyone to find out. So she goes off to find Thor. Thor hooks up with this Valkyrie, this dark-haired Valkyrie, who looks like Sif, but she has like these gnarly eyebrows. I should show you guys what she. I'll show you in a second. Let me just finish up the summation of the issues. So then, like 460, 461, 462, 461, he fights Beta Ray Bill. Sif goes and finds Beta Ray Bill and asks him, hey, can you find Thor and talk some sense into him? Bill does. And then Thor knocks the shit out of Beta Ray Bill, and Beta Ray Bill ends up in Silver Surfer, which is not in this book. We already read it in the Silver Surfer Volume 8 or 9. I forget which one. Volume 9, Resurrection. And that continues there, but it doesn't cross over there. Then 462, Thor gets into this scrape with Pluto and Ares, the Olympian gods of the underworld and war, respectively. And Thor beats the shit out of both of them. And then Pluto comes up with this plan to tell Zeus what happened, that he beat the crap out of Ares. So then Zeus is like, well, this cannot go unpunished. I must go to Asgard and have them surrender Thor. But it's like, dude, Zeus, you're going to listen to Pluto? Pluto, of all people? That's like Odin listening to Loki. Like, he's the bad guy, retard. You dumb fuck. Why are these guys who are kings and kings of gods among gods, Zeus and Odin, why are they such fucking mentally incompetent, stupid, dumbass retards? It's stupid, guys. I don't know. I guess maybe it's not. I used to think Stan Lee's just a horrible writer and he just wants to write stupid characters. No, I mean, now it's fucking Ron Mars and Jim Starlin. They probably had their own warrior madness. They don't know how to like competently write these gods to think clearly. But anyway, yeah, that just annoyed me. But anyway, that gets undone because Sif, seeking help from Zeus, ends up fighting Pluto. Pluto almost beats Sif, but Sif manages to convince Ares to confess the truth, and Pluto is undone. He's banished back to Hades. Zeus is like, oh god, I'm so stupid, and then all is well. By the way, this is from 463 to 467. It's the Infinity Crusade tie-in crossover. So now Thor also has to deal with the goddess. And for those of you who may or may not know, the goddess is trying to extinguish all evil in the universe and make it good in her view. And she turns all the superheroes of Earth to her side, but you know, she's just as bad as Thanos and Adam Warlock were in Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War, respectively. So the goddess is no better. Anyway, so the tie-ins from 463 to 467 just deal with Thor dealing with her, the goddess, his own warrior madness, and that's that. And then we get Thor Core 1 through 4, which has Dargo Couture, the once and future Thor, Beta Ray Bill and Eric Masterson, now as Thunderstrike, teaming up to save Dargo's wife Sala, who got kidnapped by this dude named Demon Staff, aka Hallen Gorko, who lost his wife in a time stream accident. Her name was Eileen. So he has the Thor Corps find her and save her. Meanwhile, Demon Staff is planning to destroy reality itself because she, Eileen, doesn't want to return to him. So he's kidnapped Sala. The other three guys of the Thor Corps bring their mallets and maces together. Remember, Eric now has a mace, not a mallet. So Beta Ray Bill has Stormbreaker. Thunderstrike has Thunderstrike. Thor of the Future has Mjolnir. They put them together and they create... they don't create, excuse me. They bring Thor. Thankfully, he doesn't have the warrior's madness. So he's nice and kind and pleasant, still Shakespearean, and he helps them. So now it's the four of them to save Sala, undo Demon Staff, and save reality and the multiverse, which they do. And that's pretty much it, guys. That, I think, was pretty easy peasy, right? By the way, I'm still fucked up and sick, guys. I'm still like, my throat. But I feel a little bit better. Wow, this is like the third or fourth volume that I've been sick, that I've reviewed. So it's been like over a week now that I'm feeling like shit. But I think I did pretty well, guys. I didn't phone it in. That was the final judgment of Thor. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You should be able to get that in your comic book store, guys. That's a fairly recent book from 2-3 years ago, maybe 4, I don't know. And we are going to move on to Blood and Thunder, volume 21, from 1993 to 1994. Look at that new logo. This actually was the logo for Thor Core. It was like Thor, and then like Core was different, but was spelled differently. God, my brain is like rapid fire. And we get Thor number 460. Let me put on my glasses, my Mr. Magoo glasses. We get Thor 468 to 475, and annual number 18. Silver Surfer 86 to 88, which I already read during the Silver Surfer issue. I think that's also volume 9, Resurrection. Warlock Chronicles 6 to 8, and Warlock and the Infinity Watch numbers 23 to 25. So that's that. Look who we got, guys. Thanos. Thanos returns. We got Thor, Silver Surfer. Yeah, this is the Valkyrie. Oh, I didn't even show you. I don't know. You guys can see for yourselves. A lot of the paneling is very modernized now. Like, they're just almost on the verge of doing the computer-generated artwork and coloring. But no more that blocky 80s style paneling. Everything's pretty. This is Ares. This is where Thor fights Ares and Pluto. Beautiful shot. Look at that spread of Asgard. That's Asgard. This is from 460 when he's kind of like, where the fuck do I go? You know? And he meets the Valkyrie. Oh, look at this. Beautiful work. Even though I'm not a fan of Bruce Zick. Look at that, though. Look at Thor on that throne. Really cool. And Thor kneeling. What I want to show you guys. Oh, yeah, I want to show you. Oh, yeah. This is the Valkyrie. I don't know. This could be Carnilla. This could be Sif, an evil Sif. Could be anybody. I don't know. She's just some chick. But yeah. Oh, yeah. And for a while, they go back to the original Thor logo. Like 463, which is a Infinity Crusade. I don't know if you guys can see in the corner. Infinity Crusade crossover. Yeah. Look at this stupid. Look how stupid Zeus looks. Like his beard and his hair. He just looks such a tool. But Pluto looks cool. I love how Pluto looks. with like no pupils in his eyes. So evil. I love that. I love it. I could probably pull off a Pluto look if I tried, right? Kind of look like Pluto. And I don't mean the dog. I don't mean the Disney dog. All right. Yeah, the Valkyrie again, or the Dark Valkyrie. Yeah, she could be, yeah, like I said, Sif. Oh yeah, the story about Odin tells a story about how Thor took on this troll that wouldn't let him drink, it wouldn't let his horse drink from the river. It was like a fable, if you will. Oh yeah. Meanwhile, he's beating the shit out of Drax the Destroyer, but that really has no bearing in the story. I don't know. All right, that's that, guys. Pick up The Final Judgment of Thor. And like I said, the next one will be Volume 21, Blood and Thunder, where we find out what happens with Thor and the Warrior Madness. Will he break it, or will it break him? We'll find out. All right. Leave your comments, guys, likes, subscribes, or don't, whatever. But I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.